Hi there, Willford here, and welcome back to another episode of From ID to Release. In this series, I try to teach upcoming producers how I would go about doing something in a track and how to create one. Last episode, we left off with the sound design for my leads and the melody I created in the first episode. And this episode will be all about mixing. So right now it sounds like this. It's way too loud and it's clipping all over the place, but you get the idea. That's the idea. And yeah, let's just start. What I did was I routed every one of the layers. I routed them to a separate mixer channel. So that's how it looks right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to route all the leads, all of the chords, and all of the basses to a separate mixer channel. So I always get questions that say, how do I route something to another channel, because that seems to be difficult for some people. So, and it's actually pretty easy. So what I do is I create another channel, leads, and I'm gonna color it orange just because that's how I roll with my color things. Then I select all of them by clicking Control Shift and then clicking on them. You can also deselect them by clicking. And then you go to the arrow down here, do right mouse button, and then route to this track only. So now we have all of the tracks routed to this leads submix. Let's just go leads. That's how you know that it works. If you can mute the layer and all of the leads will disappear. Then I'm going to do the same with chords and bass. So chords. Like that, then select them all with Control Shift and then route them, and bass. And also a thing I do is I right click on the submixes and make them separated. So it just gives that a little bit more of an overview. And then also what I do is I have a submix in the right column of the mixer channel. Of the mixer panel, I mean. And then I'm going to call it melodic layers and give it, I don't know why I give it this color, but that's just the color I usually give it. And then route every single one of them to here too. I could have selected them all, but I didn't want to. So now we have all of these layered to their own submix, and then all of the submixes routed to here. So that's the situation we're dealing with right now. And they're all routed to this last submix, and that's all because I want to control the volume of every single melodic layer at the same time. So I can mix the melodic layers and then put the volume down when I want to. So let's start with the mixing of the leads. What I usually do is I go through every single lead and I put an isotope equalizer on it, and FabFilter works for this as well, but I don't think a parametric EQ2 works for this very well. And what I do is, you can see that the most frequencies happen right here, and there's some frequency residue right about here. So what I do is I select the high pass brick wall, and I just drag it to eliminate all of that residue that we don't want in our mix. So what's the lowest note in this melody? It's this. So that's how you can see until where you can eliminate the frequencies. Because if you eliminate more than that note, it will sound unnatural. Let's reset that. So if you eliminate more than that note, it sounds like this. We don't want that. Okay, and that's what I do with every single one. So I'm going to go past this and do that real quick. Okay, so now we've done that. We only need one final EQ on the leads submix, and that's just to eliminate all the last residue that's there. And also the high frequency residue, because right here, this is the amazing thing about about the isotope equalizer, that the 8 and 1 dots are exactly in the places that the human ear can hear the sound, if that makes sense. So the 8 spot is at the 16K hertz place, and after that the human ear has difficulty hearing sound, so you might as well just eliminate that from your track. That's where that comes in handy. So let's just, it's not much. So now we have our cleaner lead, as you would say. Now let's go about panning, because some trick I really like to use is the 2 supersaw leads we have. I can't really remember which one these were. It was lead 4 and 2. So I make them about as loud, and then I pan 1 50% to the right, and then 1 50% to the left. And this creates a really strong stereo sound. Like that. And I will fuddle around with that a little bit more later on. Okay, I'm back. I had to go for a little bit, but when we left off, we were doing the panning on the supersaw layers. Okay, it's always good to have a little bit of an overview of what layers do what in the lead. So let's turn the mono layers to mono, and there's a really easy trick to that. You can just use this thing over here. Blue means it's more separated, more stereo, and purple means it's more mono. So this is already a mono lead, but I'm going to turn it a little bit more. I'm going to turn it a little bit more mono. And that lead has a little bit more stereo information to it, so I'm going to make a little bit more stereo. And then we have our lead, so let's do the levels now. I'm going to turn every single layer down and just play the lead. And then I'm going to turn up every layer one by one, and then I'm just going to see which mix I like best. So I'm going to start with the supersaw layers, actually. And the thing that I do that I can change mixer tracks like this is just press Alt and use the arrow keys to move them around. It's a really easy trick, and it saves you a lot of time. So next layer, maybe this lead. There's not really a single way in which I think you should do this, but I just do it until I think it sounds good. Okay, so I hear it has a little bit of mid information I don't want, so I'm just going to turn that down a little bit. Like that. Okay, so now I think we should do reverb now. And I do reverb in a really difficult and stupid way, but I really like how it sounds, so I'm going to keep doing it until I find a better way of doing this. I make another submix called reverb, and I put it in the group right here. Again, Alt and then the arrow keys. Then I put a fruity reverb on here, and then I link the leads layer, which is also linked to the melodic layers layer submix. The lead submix, I link it to the reverb submix. So now we have the leads submix routed into the reverb submix and also into the melodic layer submix. But in the reverb submix, I'm going to turn the dry all the way down. So now if we mute the melodic layers submix, we have a a submix that has just the reverb of that lead layers. I hope that made a little bit of sense. And then I can manipulate it however I want, and that's basically what I like so much about this. So I put a kickstart on it, and I'm going to turn it down to 88%, something along those lines. I'm going to turn the wet a little bit up, decay a little bit up. And the cool thing about this is that you can EQ the reverb. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a lot more high end to it and a lot less low and mid end. So it doesn't mud up the lead sound. Like that, maybe a little bit less decay. Let's see how this sounds. Make this a little bit more wide with the blue thing down here. And then I'm going to sidechain this as well, also to 88%. Turn the reverb down a little bit. Okay, and then let's do some final processing on the leads, just with some add a Maximus to it. This is a trick I learned from Project 64's video on lead mixing. It's just use the clear master RMS, and it really acts as a good exciter for your leads. So now it sounds like this. See how much more energy it has right now? And maybe for a little even more energy, we could use some sausage fattener, and I don't have that in my usual plugin list, so let's just try to find it in here. Where is it? Sausage fattener. Oh, but, wait, what did I do? Oh, okay. So back to the Maximus because I accidentally deleted it, but that's okay. Clear master RMS. I moved the ozone equalizer down so it goes through all this processing and then into the demudding that this thing does. Let's see how it sounds in the mix of everything. I can see this working out. Maybe the reverb is a little bit more, it's too intense, I think. Yeah, like that. I think that's good. So now let's move on to the chords real quick. We have this for the chords. It sounds so muddy and low frequency, so we're going to fix that up. Let's go past every one of them and do exactly the same thing as we did with the leads. But then we can't really find a note that is the lowest note in this case. So what I'm going to do is, as you can hear in here, you can see that bass frequency. You can really see that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to eliminate that bass frequency. That's where it's gone. Let's do it again here. High pass brick wall. Oh, this doesn't really have that bass frequency, so I can just use it for the lowest note, which is that. Oh wait, this is the lowest note, isn't it? That's the lowest note. So let's take a look if that crosses it. Yeah, like that. And then the piano, which is very, you can really see that bass frequency in here. pump up the highs. It also has a very clear bass frequency, so you could just easily EQ that out. Going to use an EQ2 to refine that. Okay, and this one as well. Awesome. I'm going to use these solids for the high and for the mid frequencies. So it can be used as a little bit of a white noise layer. And as you can see, the low end here is completely clean. That's what I love so much about the isotope equalizer. It's that it just completely eliminates those frequencies. So you get a really clean mix. Like that. Okay, then all together. I'm going to do the same as I did with the leads, so I'm just going to pump up one of them. And then on this thing, I'm going to do a little bit more EQing. Like that, that should be good. And then the final EQ as well here, just low pass that number 8 and high pass like that. And then kickstart it with the mid chain preset, so it sounds like this. And then I'm going to do reverb in the exact same way as I did the other one. Reverb, RB, thank you. Put it in the chords thingy and link it here. Put it on, turn down dry, and put on an EQ and kickstarts. Make it the same side chaining as it was on the other one. This should be good. As you can see, my CPU is starting to have problems, and that's mainly because I'm also recording right now, but it's also because there's just so many notes playing at the same time. Okay, so leads and chords. Let's take a look at just those. Maybe enable the leads, that should be good. We'll see. I don't know about it yet, but as I said, we'll see. So let's take a look at the bass. Here. Let's start with the sub bass actually. I want this to be a really clean sub bass, so I'm just going to disable all the other harmonics up until about 200 hertz. And then I'm going to look at the other bass and just disable every frequency underneath 200 hertz so it doesn't clash with the sub bass. So 200 hertz right there. That's good. So you can see they really fit with each other right now. So I think this only could use some sausage fattener maybe to, oh, why do I keep doing this? Sausage fattener. But then make sure the equalizer is underneath the sausage fattener so it completely eliminates those notes as well. Yeah, like that. So let's listen to what it sounds like right now. And the side chaining, what I'm going to do is the sub bass, because it has to interfere with the kick drum. I'm going to have it have a pretty tight sub chain. And this one has to fit with the chords, so I'm going to have it follow the same chain as the chords. So now it sounds like this. Like that. Now let's mix it with these. I'm going to eliminate some of the high end of this lead because it's bothering me how sharp it sounds. Maybe, as a rule, you could say that they should be at about the same level. So if you put them next to each other like this, they should come at about the same level. So one thing that I haven't done yet, and which I still wanted to do in this tutorial, is compression. And compression is something really important, so I really wanted to save it until the last little bit of the tutorial. For compressor, I usually use the glue. And I use this because it really has this visualizer here, and that really helps me visualize what the compressor is actually doing at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it right here on the leads, and I'm going to show you what the compressor does, because some people really don't seem to understand that yet. What a compressor does, it reduces the dynamic range of a sample you have. So for instance, this lead sample. Dynamic range is the range between the highest and the lowest point of something. So as you can see in the mixer up here or down here, when it's playing, it varies in how loud it actually is. And that can be a pain while mixing. So what you do is, the threshold is the dB, the volume in which the compressor will actually react to the sound. So I'm going to put it at about here, and as you can see, it actually shows you how much it's compressing. So in this case, it's compressing about 2.5 dB of sound, maybe a little bit more, and then you can use the makeup gain to gain back those 2.5 dB you've lost in the compression. And as you can see up here and down here, it's actually a lot more leveled now. That's with compression, and this is without. I don't know if you can hear it, but I hear a pretty great difference, so I'm going to use that on the chords as well. Okay, so open up the glue. There we have it, so threshold. At about 3 dB gain reduction is what it's called, so I'm going to pull back those 3 dBs. Okay, like that. And then the bass, I can't really compress because of the sub and the bass being sidechained just in the mixer tracks instead of the sub mix. So I'm going to have to compress those individually. This is already compressed due to the sausage fattener, but this bass isn't. So I'm going to check that. Okay, so now all together we have this. That high end on the lead is still annoying me a little bit. Like that. Now I'm just listening to the sound and trying to listen what kind of frequencies are missing and in what layers so I can fix them. And I was thinking the chords are missing some high end, so I'm going to add that right now. And I actually forgot to do this with the basses. My CPU is starting to have a really bad time handling all of this. Maybe this needs a little bit more of 2. And this, what I'm doing right now, is really something you have to practice, and you have to really start listening to your mixes and all of that, because you can't really learn that in a day. You can't really learn how to mix in a day. You really have to teach yourself and listen to a lot of mixes and just keep practicing and practicing. And yeah, I think I'm starting to be happy with what the mix sounds right now. I'm not very happy with the stereo image yet, how it really sounds around me, but that can be fixed in mastering, and I'll teach you that in a separate episode. Right now, I think this is good enough to end the episode with. So I think that was it. If I missed something and you want me to explain that, please leave a comment and ask me about it. I'd love to inform you about it. I really love to reply to comments and actually think about stuff you guys said. Also, leave a comments on what I should do in next episode. I think I'm going to do percussion in the drop, so like kicks, snares, hats, rides, all that kind of things. Maybe a fill right about here. Yeah, that's probably what I'm going to do in episode 4. But yeah, I think that was it for today, guys. Hope you liked it. Please leave a like if you did, and leave a subscribe if you really love the content. But thanks for watching, and see you next time.